Well, this past Saturday, it was Sovereignty who won the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby. He also gave jockey Junior Alvarado his very first Kentucky Derby win. And Junior joins us live on the show right now. Junior, first off, thanks for joining us here on FanDuel TV. Congratulations to you once again. And what have these last few days been like for you? I'd imagine you've been taking a lot of calls and texts from family and friends, right?
Hello, Joaquin. Yes, it's been very busy. I guess that's the way we celebrate winning the Derby, with a lot of interviews. But I'm enjoying it. I really like it. I really love it. So if that's the way it's gonna be, I'm glad to do it.
We'll get into the race recap in just a second here, Junior, but let's go back a couple months. Late March, you suffer an injury at Gulfstream Park. You have a fractured shoulder. Manny Franco had to ride Sovereignty in the Florida Derby to go ahead and sub for you. I'm curious, was there a moment during that injury, at least very early on in the healing process, where you might have questioned if you're even going to be able to ride Sovereignty in the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first, when I was in the hospital, I used, the doctor, well, normally they like to give a long time. He says, like, I think 6 to 8 weeks for you to recover. When he says 6 to 8 weeks, I think the world just kind of crushed down on me. I was like, I cannot believe this is happening to me. I'm gonna lose the Kentucky Derby, because been waiting my whole life for having a good opportunity with a horse that I think is gonna be able to win the Derby. And it's like, I just couldn't believe it. I was in disbelief. I feel like I got super depressed and during that night. But the next day in the morning, I went to see my personal doctor from here, from New York. And, he said to me, like, listen, I think 3 to 4 weeks should be the max. You guys normally recover quick. So, I started doing what I needed to do. But same thing, the first week, when I was trying to get mobility in my arm, I was questioning myself. It's like, I'm going to push through this, but to be honest, I couldn't even move my arm at all. I was trying so hard every after the sixth day, I was trying so hard to move my arm, and I have completely like zero mobility. So I was like, I keep telling my wife, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. It's like, I'm now the doctor said that I should be able to start moving my arm. Like I feel helpless. I'm trying with all my strength, and I can even move my arm 1 inch. So, it was, those moments where, a lot of bad thought was going to my head. I was saying, like, well, listen, if I don't get to make the Derby and this horse ended up winning, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to I don't know if I wanted to ride back. To be honest, I was just like a lot of things in my mind was going through at that moment, but. Listen, I just think things happen for a reason, and if this have to happen again this way, it's fine with me, because look what happened. I just ended up winning the Kentucky Derby.
I think the fact that you're so fit as a professional athlete, I think certainly aided your recovery to help you recover and bounce back quicker than what the doctors initially said. Let's go to the race, Junior. You're in post number, I believe, 18 or so. It seemed like you jumped well from the gates, but then you clipped heels and you got pinched. Did your horse recover very quickly after you clipped heels the first couple jumps?
Yes, Joaquin, for a big horse like he is, he clips heels, and I think, I felt it more being in top than what actually it seems on TV. He grabbed the horses, the number 19 heels, and for a couple seconds, I got very worried, because I was like, oh, I hope he didn't lose his shoes, because, with a track like it was in Kentucky, very muddy, I didn't want my horse to lose his shoes, because I wanted to make sure he get a good hold of it. And then it was the first time running the muddy, so I would use everything to go perfect. I was like, oh no, how is this happening just now at the beginning of the race? But he was a pro, he handled everything that was thrown at him and during the race, and he ended up, getting me to the wire first.
Going into the first turn, you were able to save ground on the first turn. Were you able to get over to the rail fairly easily in this Derby trip?
Yeah, that was the plan. I know Mr. Mo, we talked in the week, and there wasn't much really how to ride a horse or where to put it, Billy Mo said to me, listen, we need to try to save ground. We cannot go wide both turn. If we're going to end up going wide both turn, we might as well stay at home. So I got the memo right there, and he got the memo, like I said, and I said, like, well, somehow I need to try to save ground the first turn. And then, maybe the second turn, if I have horse, I just go around and try to keep him clean. But yeah, exactly. I mean, I just think, there was a lot of speed in the race, so I think that helps me. It helps to spread the fields a little bit, and like I say, I just when I was passing to the wire, I said like, wow, I'm gonna end up like end the rail, like I planned it in my head. I ended up saving as much ground as I could, and like I say, when I had the backside, I just put him a little bit in the outside just to make sure I have a clear run.
Were your eyes glued to Alberto? Were you able to see where Alberto is? And did you have just constant eyes on journalism and Alberto as you guys were going down the backstretch and into the far turn and almost following him in a way?
Yeah, like the first part of the race, I was just making sure, what I always talk to Bill and what we always try to do with the horse, we just put him into a rhythm, and that's what was my main goal at the beginning of the race, So he got into a beautiful rhythm, he's traveling beautiful. Then, like I said, when we turn the backside, my horse switched left to the right, so he's traveling beautiful. And like I said, a little before the 5 pole, he jumped in the bridle. That's the way of him telling me, like, I'm ready, So I took the reins, and then after that, since I knew he was ready, I just had a kind of target to see where everybody was, and I saw Baez a little bit kind of behind journalism, and he's trying. I can see Flavian tried to save a little bit of ground, so I said, like, you know what, let me take this spot right now and go right behind journalism and probably follow him, because I could see that he was in the clear on the outside too, and he was going to have a clear run coming into the turn. So I just put myself and a little closer of the favorite, and I say, that way he doesn't get the jump on me neither, So that's what I did. He started picking it up, and right behind I was, very close to him, and yes, I mean, when I turned from home, I put my horse in the clear, and I could almost taste it, the victory, because I could feel my horse kind of getting closer and closer with a powerful strike.
Well, Junior, this is a dream come true for you, your very first Kentucky Derby win. And, of course, you won this for you and your professional career, but also your family and your wife and everybody. But what about your agent and other people that were close to you? Because Mike Solito, off the top of my head, Junior, he's been your agent for maybe 10-plus years or so. How special was this for you to do it for an agent like Mike Solito, who's been so loyal to you?
Yeah, he's been very loyal, almost like part of the family too. He's been through ups and downs with me every time I got injured. I've been out for 6-8 months, and he just stick with me. He never gets somebody else. He just wait for me until I come back. You rarely see this. That going into this derby, and winning the derby, I knew it meant a lot for him too. And like I said, it was just winning the derby for Mr. Mott. Winning the derby with my agent, Mike Solito, who's been, throughout my career and ups and downs, it was just a very special moment for me and like I said, for my family too.
Well, Junior, thank you so much for joining us live here on FanDuel TV. From all of us at FanDuel, congratulations to you on your very first Kentucky Derby win. I know, unfortunately, we're not going to see Sovereignty at the Preakness Stakes. That's not your decision. That's not your area there. So we will see you in Sovereignty at the Belmont Stakes. Junior, thank you so much once again, and congratulations on the Derby win.
Thank you very much, Joaquin.